I got a podcast. Got a podcast with me? I don't know how this is gonna work. Maybe if I sit down, he might start getting grumpy that I'm sitting here, so... Oh, no, he jumped. Well, hello. How are you? Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Nature's Cozy podcast. My name is Allison, and for anyone who is new, this is a making video where I usually just talk about knitting. Sometimes I throw in some other things. For those of you who are not new, welcome back. Also, if you are new, I am the maker behind Nature's Cozy, and it's been a while since the last time that I've been on here. Life has been crazy per usual, but end of June, July, even like this upcoming week is still going to be busy, but today I was able to just take a break for myself away from work. Yeah, it's been nuts. So before I really get started, it's hot, but I think they're just starting to do construction on the houses they're building across the street from me. So I'm gonna close at least one window to hopefully bring some of that noise level down. I usually only drink 1 cup in the morning, but today I decided to make a 2nd cup because, you know, I'm just feeling a little tired and probably should drink a little bit more water too. I did fill up my water cup as well, so hopefully I'll be, you know, awake. I hope you all are doing well. What's been going on? You know, I'll try to keep it short, but essentially I submitted my thesis, or I gave my committee my thesis yesterday. And on Wednesday, today is July 22nd, I believe. It's Thursday. So on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, I actually defend, which I'm very nervous about, but also just excited about. I'm like ready to just feel the relief like fully lift off my shoulders. Of course, there's still gonna be work still to do after I defend, you know, making edits to my thesis, trying to get my paper published, but just the idea like, okay, I've passed, hopefully. Just the relief of that will be really nice. And then yeah, so I've been writing like a mad woman these past couple weeks, and really been monogamous up until like yesterday, or I guess this past like few days, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, but I guess we could kind of start getting into the making. So you might see that I am wearing something kind of new that if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen it, but if not, you would have not seen it. This is my Ciao Cami by Sari Nordlund, and yeah, let me get up a little bit closer. So this is my cami, and I knit this out of Knitting for Olive pure silk in their plum rose color, I believe. So the pattern calls for DK weight, and I knitted, Knitting for Olive, the pure silk is fingering weight, so I just held it double. I love it. I really do. Let's see. This is the 2nd top that I've made by Sari Nordlund, and if you watched my previous episode, you would have actually seen the tank top that I was test knitting for her, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, I do like this one a little bit more. You can see that I'm adjusting my straps a bit, and so sorry if I keep doing that. I'll talk about that in a second, but I do think this is a lot more wearable than the other one. The other one's gorgeous and it's beautiful. and I really enjoyed knitting on it, but it's not something that I can style all the time. Well, I would have knit it differently, I think, is the real issue. And so it's not something I would probably wear unless I reknit a smaller size, which again, I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, so I knit this. I went up a needle. So she calls for a US 3 and I knit this on a US 4. And then she also, there's ribbing at the bottom and she calls for I think a 2.5 and I just used a 4, but I made some modifications. So I will probably like put a clip of me off to the side so you can see more of like the length. I was actually really nervous I was going to run out of yarn, but I also I think did some of the math a little bit wrong. Well, not really. I did and I didn't. It was like a ½ inch shorter originally that I would have liked, or a ½ inch shorter, which in the grander scheme of things is fine, and it actually blocked lengthwise. It actually hit kind of where I would have liked it to be anyway, so it worked out. Now, I will say as well, so some things that I learned about when I test knit the Sunkissed top, it's like hard to talk about it without showing it, but also I have so much to say about it that I feel like it kind of needs its own segment. But I guess I'll just kind of talk. Yeah, so in case you knew or you didn't see the last episode, this is my Sunkissed top, and I knit this. I test knit this for her. It's a bit wrinkly. Both of them are a little bit wrinkly. It has this gorgeous lace paneling, and it's a beautiful pattern. It's nothing against her as a designer. I just chose the wrong size. So I knit the size 6, which was, I think, like I have a 46 inch bust. So this one I think was like 49 and some ½ inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch. And then the 5 is a 45 and I think 3/4 of an inch. So if, with my regular sweaters, I like some positive ease and thinking about going negative ease, but again, I'm like, I can make adjustments. But originally, just thinking about the negative ease, I was like, oh no, I'll go up a size. I'll test knit the size 6. And I learned once I was done that was just too big. Now she does recommend in her patterns to do anywhere from negative ease to like 2 inches of positive ease. I would just say go for 0 or negative ease. I will also put this one on for you as well, and you will see why the negative ease actually helps a lot. Yeah, so, and I thought maybe this was only me, maybe I knit it like wrong or whatever, but some other people in the test knit who were larger bust size said, oh, I really wish I went down to negative ease, because I think someone recommended maybe putting more negative ease actually for the pattern, and someone else said, oh yeah, like I knit it with positive ease, I'm a bigger bust size, and I noticed that it's definitely fitting more loosely than the ladies who knit it with the smaller bust sizes. So just all lessons that I have learned. So when I went to go knit this top, I decided to start off with the US, or with her size 5, and you knit the front paneling and then you knit the back, which is just stockinette, and then you join it in the round. So yeah, so I knit this on a size 5, and then when I was joining the sides, I kind of felt like it was a little too tight. So for the back, you can, you increase and then you can join, or, if you want to make it a little bit longer, you can just knit and don't increase and then join. And so that's what I originally did. I just knit it a bit longer, so they were about like the same length, the front and the back. And I kind of, when I went to go join it, I didn't really like how it was turning out without the increasing. And like I said, I felt kind of too tight. So I ended up ripping back and I increased a total of 8 stitches. So 4 stitches on each side. And I think it worked out really well. Yeah, and so again, I'll stand up, maybe I already did as I was showing this, but yeah, so, and then I ended up, so then you, for my size, when you're knitting the body, you actually increase every, you know, X amount of inches, you increase about like 4 stitches, and then I ended up doing, because I already was doing 8 stitches more, I did 1 less decrease, which gave me just an extra 4 stitches total. And then because I knew I was going to do the ribbing on the US 4, I had an odd number of stitches, which I think was, when I looked at the pattern, that was, I think what I was supposed to have was an odd number. So I ended up decreasing by 3. And again, I really liked how it turned out. The only thing that I will say about this, which I was kind of like, should I do it? Should I do it when I first started it? But just because the straps lay differently than on the Sunkissed top, I decided to follow the amount of stitches that she, or inches that she recommends to make the straps. I would have probably gone back and did it maybe a 1/2 inch, maybe an inch shorter, but definitely probably at least a 1/2 inch. And the reason why I say that is because after I blocked it, I made sure not to pull on the straps when I blocked it. And I wore this a little bit yesterday and it was fitting fine, but with this top and my Sunkissed top, after wearing it, it just pulls down. And so it's been kind of like pulling down a little bit more like this, and it's like now you can see my bra. And so that's the only thing, is that maybe depending on how elastic or heavy the fiber that you're working with, maybe make it like a 1/2 inch shorter. But besides that, I really love it. Yeah, so I actually knit this as a birthday top. I don't know if I'll actually wear it on my birthday. So I'm defending next Wednesday. Then so I'm going down to Champaign today. And this is like my last week down there, which is nuts. I'm defending on Wednesday, and then I'm moving out of my little studio apartment down there on Saturday. And then the following Tuesday, Nick and I, who's my boyfriend, we're going out to Colorado. And we're going to be out there for like 4 days. His sister lives out there. But yeah, so my birthday is August 4th. And so we're going to be out there. And so originally I wanted to wear this, but I'll still wear it on my trip for sure, 100%. Maybe like the first day we're there, because we don't really plan on going hiking or anything that day. But I think in regards to like hiking in it, I probably want to wear something that I don't have to feel like I need to adjust. And maybe just something a little bit more airy too. I didn't wear this that long yesterday because my sister actually just helped me get some finished object photos. But I can kind of feel like the heat on my back a little bit. It's not like wool by any means, but this is 100% linen. And I do think this is more breathable than the silk. So while we're talking, let's pull this one out a little bit more. So I knit this out of Rerum Natura. I never looked this up the last like time I even show this to. It's like spelled like Antigone, so I kind of want to say like Antigone, but I have no idea like how you actually pronounce it. But this is it, and then I believe it's called Mordor, which is the colorway. It's Mordore. I don't know what I did with the tag, or else I would show the tag. But yeah, and I have a lot left, over a decent amount. I forgot how many grams, but I ended up buying 3 balls of this. I had 5 balls of the Knitting for Olive, and I had 3 grams left after I bound off. So yeah, but so this is a sport weight, and again, I think so something that I have learned, one, this is my first garment test knit I've ever done. I think first of all, testing a garment is a lot of pressure. I knew it'd be like more pressure than like testing socks or a shawl or whatever. But you really want to make sure like everything works out, because, you know, garments are, if you're test knitting, you really want to make sure everything, you know, just everything's okay. And then I think the other thing that I learned is that I don't think I'll want to test knit a garment for a designer I haven't knit before, like any of her designs. Again, this has nothing to do with like Sari Nordlund. Like, her pattern was very clear. It was nothing by that. It was just knitting. Like, because I knit this, I had more of an idea of how I wanted to knit this. And so I just feel like if I already know how a designer kind of already designs a bit, I'll feel like a little bit more comfortable test knitting. And that's just my personal opinion, because that way I can get more of a sense of, you know, just her writing style and just the way that, you know, her patterns fit in her design and everything like that. So I ended up buying suction like cup bras, like strapless bras, but yeah. And originally I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll like wear that when I like put this on and show you guys, but I'm just gonna wear the bra that I'm wearing now, and I think honestly, like, you'll be able to see how low this goes in the back. So that is my huge issue. So one, like I said, I definitely would knit the size down, because I want, so like this section here really just falls on my back and it just hangs. I want it to hug, right? I want it to hug because then it stays up more. The straps, they like grew so much after I blocked it. And again, so I made sure when I blocked this that these were not really stretched out, because I didn't want them to grow, because I had to cut them. And Kitchener, it was this one was a hot mess, because I already did that because I accidentally got this twisted. So I cut it, you know, I adjusted it, I Kitchener stitched it. It was great, it was fine. But then I was like cutting it and I came across that part. It was just a hot mess. So you can even see some of the linen starting to like pop out too, my ends. Yeah, and so when I first put this on too, it was like, okay, it's kind of loose, it's a little bit big. I wore it out and I was like, I can do this is fine. But again, as I continued to wear it, I can just feel it like falling. So like the straps just kind of kept stretching. Again, I was thinking, like, I wasn't sure if it was the linen, but also because these straps kind of started doing that a little bit today too. I just think it's just the style of straps. So I would just recommend knitting it 1/2 inch to 1 inch shorter than what the pattern calls for, because, you know, gravity. So yeah. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing, because this doesn't fit me well, so I don't feel comfortable wearing it. If you've seen my picture on Instagram, it doesn't look as bad, and I made notes about it on my Ravelry page, and I said, please size down. My arms are actually holding up the side, so I did say that on my Ravelry page, because like in the photo it just doesn't look as, you know, it doesn't look as loose as it actually is. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is eventually pull this out and knit something that has just wider straps, maybe something that's a little bit more conservative. I really love this linen though. Like I love how if I wore this on like a 90-degree day and it was fine. We were fine. I mean, granted, it is also very like open and airy in general as a pattern, but it was really nice. So I think I'm gonna do that, and then I would actually like to knit this pattern again. I wouldn't even mind knitting it in some knitting for olive silk. Maybe I'd get a cotton. I don't really know, but yeah, that'll probably all things I do next summer or spring. But yeah, so those are just kind of the things that I wanted to point out in case you were curious about knitting them yourselves, is that just do something with negative ease, and maybe make the straps a little bit smaller is really just my main two suggestions. So that is all for garments. And now, well, that's not all for garments, but that's all for finished objects, garment-wise. I do have some two pairs of socks that I completed as well. Actually, there's 3 socks I have completed, but I finished my Don't Panic socks by Hygge Canyon, and I knit those out of stress knits in her Sweet Disposition colorway, which, now that I'm thinking about it, I thought I had it out. Yeah, I don't know what I did with that yarn, so I won't show it, but I didn't have a clip of the Don't Panic socks that I took, so I'll just like show you guys that. But I knit those. They were fit me kind of weird, so I asked my sister if she wanted them, and she's like, yeah, I'll take them. I ended up giving them for her 18th birthday, which is also wild to me that my little sister is 18. We are 11 years apart. Yeah, so yeah, so I knit those, and like I said, I've been pretty much just knitting on one project and then some rows here and there on my half and half triangles wrap. So the first pair of socks that I have to show, I actually finished like, I think like a month ago almost, like right after I recorded my last podcast, so it feels like weird to kind of talk about them, but I have some scrappy socks. So these are some shorties that I knit up, and I had an advent calendar from Dragon Hoard Yarn and Yarn Cafe Creations that I bought back in 2019, and I just had a lot of leftover yarn. I still have a lot of leftover yarn from that, but I just decided to just try to do scrappy socks, and yeah, it was my first time ever making scrappy socks. I think I have this one completed. I'm gonna close that second window. We got some street cleaning going on apparently. But yeah, so I finished this one, and then this is the one that I was working on, and yeah, it's kind of interesting because this one's more bright. I didn't like plan for one to be moodier or bright. I was trying to actually divide it so it would have a good balance between like darks and lights, but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a difference. Sorry, coffee still has to kick in. Yeah, so I did kind of just write very quick notes on my Ravelry page. I'm sorry for those who can't use Ravelry. I do though have in the show notes all patterns that are on Ravelry and somewhere else. I always have both links down below, and if you have any questions, feel free to always leave a comment down below, message me on Instagram. But for those of you who are on Ravelry, yeah, I just did like a very quick recipe of how many stitches and how like each color block, I think I did 10 stitches. So yeah, those were really fun. They were just fun. I weaved in the ends right away. For socks, for a lot of projects, but really for socks, I always weave in my ends right away, especially if I'm just doing a solid color, because it's only 2 ends. And if you kitchen your toes, I mean, you already have the darning needle, so it makes sense. At least for me, it makes sense to just like finish it off, right? Like you already have it all out. So the second pair of socks that I have are really fun, really summery, and these are my early riser socks. So these are just a pair of vanilla socks. There we go. I did a fish lips kiss heel. Yeah, it's just really fun and bright. So very spring and summery. And yeah, these were, I think I said these were a Homespun House, and I've had this in my stash for a couple of years now, and I just wanted to finally make them. I did my basic sock design, like vanilla sock. Mine is like the fish lips kiss heel, which I love. I will like the heel flap and gusset fits me the best, but just like time wise, nothing beats the fish lips kiss heel in my opinion. And it still fits me. It just, the heel flap and gusset fits me better. So I always knit my socks on a US 1, and I did 20 rounds of 2x2 ribbing, 60 rounds on the leg. I have a US women's 11, so with my gauge, I knit about 95 rounds usually on the foot. And apparently I'm still like that even with the fish lips kiss heel or the heel flap and gusset. And then I just do, I forgot what this toe is called. It's not the rounded toe, it's the other one, so you decrease every other row. And I do my decreases until I get to about 14 stitches. Yeah, and they serve me well. I've been doing them since I started learning how to knit socks. So I love them. I think they're gonna be great to wear this fall. And yeah, so that's what I have for finished objects. Now, besides my half and half triangles wrap, which I will show, that actually would have been about it, because again, I've been really good. I've had this kind of polarizing feeling of wanting to cast on all the things. Again, my mind was in chaos. I was trying to get things done, but then, so I just wanted to cast on all the things, but then at the same time I was like, no, you have to focus, you have to do this, and then I just wanted to, I don't know, again, when I get to X amount of whips, I start to feel very overwhelmed and I get anxiety. And so I was like, you have a lot of whips in your needles, you don't feel very good about it, get some off. And I was like, I want to like get them all off. But of course I casted on a couple things recently, but I did get, you know, 3 things off my needles right now. Because I also need 2. I was going to cast on a pair of socks tonight, which I will talk about in a little bit, and a shawl, which I will also talk about. In these next like upcoming weeks. And so I was like, you are casting new things on, blah blah blah, but yeah, I don't know. I actually casted on a couple things, and I did it though when my mind wasn't chaotic. Well, at least one of them. So I feel like I'm in a really good spot with it. But before I kind of talk about those things, let's talk about what's in this beautiful bag or basket. So this is actually, when I was like on a huge basket kick when Molly from Homespun House was selling these when she was in America. She was selling these baskets in her shop. This one is, I think, the smallest one that I own, but it's my absolute favorite because I just love these colors. And yeah, so last time we chit-chatted, I was at the spot where my progress keeper is, trying like to show without getting any stitches off. But yeah, so that's where I was last time. But you have to remember, these are all short rows. So I did quite a bit. And so this is kind of where I'm at now in regards to number of short rows. And this is the middle marker. So this is like right in the middle. And yeah, I love it. I don't know exactly where I was last time I showed you. I don't know if I was like here or something. It's kind of really, it's hard to kind of see. I mean, you can obviously, oh, like there's distance between the stitch marker and where the cord is, but because they're short rows, it's kind of hard to really see all the progress, I feel like, because I was like somewhere, I think, around here. So yeah, I still can't say anything but good things about it. I mean, every single time I work with a yarn, I'm falling more and more in love with it. It's just different. It's weird because when I was knitting, not like oh my god, it's weird. It's just when I was knitting, it's weird, like the sensation that I get every single time I work on it. So after I was working on the Sunkissed top, you know, that's linen. Even though I do think it's a softer linen than other linens I felt, I came to this and I was like, oh my god, this feels like so soft and drapey. And then I was working with like super soft sock yarn, and I came back and it just felt a little different because yeah, it's not like soft like sock yarn. So I could feel like the little bits of more of the roughness in it, but not like scratchy, which I've talked plenty about before. So it was just kind of a very interesting feeling. I am still on my second ball of my first color, but I am, like I said, I think I said this already, I'm more than halfway through all of the stitches. So I casted on, well, I guess I should talk about what this is if you've never seen it before, right? So I'm sure many of you have seen this though, because Caddy Jack's Knits is hosting a knit along for this, and it goes up until Rhinebeck, and it's called the Half Wrap Cal, and this is a free pattern by Purl Soho. And it's knit originally out of linen quill, which is what I am knitting this out of, which is a 50% Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and a 15% linen. Like I said, it's a free pattern. I'm knitting the larger size. Well, there's two sizes, a small and a large. So many people I think are knitting the largest size. You cast on 260 stitches, and then you just keep going short rows and short rows until you get all the way to the end, and then you cast on a second color, and then you work the small, and then it gets larger and larger. So my first color is called Rose Granite. This is my second ball. So we're close. We're close to finishing it up. I am taking this with me down in Champagne, so I did wind up the third one, which you don't use the whole thing is what I've been told, but I also finally wound up my second color. So I think it's getting just a little bit blown out. It's a little bit darker, but I'm very excited about it. I believe this is the Juniper green. Yeah, I'm really happy I started with the pink for like spring and middle of summer. I originally was trying to finish up the pink before now, but you know what? As long as I get this done in time for the end of the knit along, like I'm okay. But I'm so excited to start working on this green for like August and September as we kind of end summer and go into fall. And I really think this is a really great like transitional piece. I know other people have talked about this where they're like, oh, I want to like knit this color for this season and then knit this color for this season. And I'm really a fan of that. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I am my colors, I draw upon my inspiration from the seasons. I mean, obviously I have my favorite colors, but I tend to, want more bright and fun colors in summer, and then we get into the like moodier colors for fall, all the earth tones, and then winter is kind of the more neutral, cool tones, and then spring is the like more pastel tones. Yeah, so I think it's just really nice. So some projects that I've casted on, since doing all of this, I've casted on a sock and a garment, but I'm also going to be frogging a sock and a garment as well, which is going to feel really nice. I already took them off my Ravelry page, which was kind of like I don't have to worry about it anymore. Even though I still have needles in both of them, it just feels like that's it. So I just kind of wanted to show them on the podcast and then just kind of let them go. All right, I guess I will just kind of start with what I plan on frogging and then show you kind of the things that I am going to be that I'm currently knitting. So the first project that I have decided to frog, it's a beautiful pattern. I guess I should mention both of these are in Jenna Rose bags. They're some of my favorite bags. But the first project, they're a pair of socks. I've already knit one of the socks. I started the second sock, but whenever I think about working on the second sock, I dread it. And this isn't in no way against the pattern itself. It's just not what I like to do when I knit my socks. So the first one is frogging is my my acorn socks. I believe the designer is Amanita. I didn't look it up beforehand. I probably should have. I'm actually knitting this in Stress Knits in her Rust Belt colorway. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. It's perfect for this pattern. But as you can see, I actually started the second one, and this is a toe-up sock. And that's really what's holding me back. So the foot actually wasn't bad to knit at all. I actually really enjoyed knitting the foot. I felt like it was actually going faster. But I did mess up the heel on the sock, and then this has a really, really like beautiful design on here. And I learned new techniques, but I felt this was kind of fiddly on top. And like it's even like a folded cuff. You have this like little tuck right here, and obviously this little design going on. And it was just kind of finicky. And because I already knit most of this sock, it was just a lot of weight on my needles, I felt like, for such a small circumference. And so just thinking about knitting the second one, like I have no desire. I have absolutely no desire to knit the second one. Like once I get past the foot, I did not enjoy the process. And again, it's such a beautiful pattern. If you knit toe-up socks, go for it. I think it's gorgeous. I don't think it's anything like bad. The design is beautiful. Just, I'm at the point now where I think knitting the Ronin, and then we're knitting most of the Ronin and then frogging it last year. I think that kind of helps. I think once you get past that first project where you frog, you're like, but then you repurpose the yarn into something even more so that like you enjoy it. It's just, you know, again, it's knitting is supposed to be joyful, and if it doesn't bring you joy, it's okay. You can repurpose the yarn, right? Of course that means I have to add it back to my stash. But we're okay. So then the second project I have decided to knit. Again, nothing to do with the actual pattern itself. Nothing, it's just not bringing me joy. And that is my pink Fizz. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I actually, when I was thinking about frogging this, I kept petting it and I was like, oh, but this is so nice and soft. Do I want to do it? But you know, it's just one of those things where I've been thinking about like what garments do I want in my wardrobe, and like what are some things I'm excited to knit this fall and winter and the end of summer. And then I'm like, oh, I have the pink Fizz. Oh, I guess I have to finish that. Oh, I don't really want to. So, you know, if it feels like a drag, I don't want to knit on it. And again, it has nothing to do with the pattern. I've seen, it's beautiful, but I'm just, I don't know. This yarn color, this is Knitting for Olive in their Bordeaux colorway. It's fingering held with mohair. So it's like this kind of purplish red color. It's, the camera picks it up as a little bit more purple. It's gorgeous. But I don't feel good about this yarn being with this pattern at first, because when I originally chose this color, I already had the Knitting for Olive fingering in my stash. I just had to buy like an extra ball, and I was like, oh, I'll just get the mohair for it. And I thought I really enjoyed it together, of course, but I just don't like the feeling I get. The other thing about what I've kind of done, and you can probably see it, so I've been doing my yarn overs on this. So I kind of words. Okay. When I was transitioning from purls to knits and knits to purls, and there was a yarn over in the middle, I did them differently than how I do them now while I was knitting on this. So you can probably kind of see maybe how one side just has a much larger hole than the other side. Like the yarn over is just a lot bigger. And I wasn't enjoying that. I was like, other projects don't seem to be as big as mine. Why is that? And so instead of like wrapping the yarn over, and I would, like if I was purling and then to knit, I just wouldn't bring the yarn back to knit. I would knit with the yarn in front, and that would create a yarn over. But now I'll wrap it around once. So I'll go from front to back with the yarn, and then I'll knit it, and then it creates a yarn over that way too. And I noticed when I started doing that on the Sunkissed top, my yarn overs were much more, like they matched a lot more. They weren't, and I was talking to my friend Patty, and Avie, one of our like Saturday morning knit groups, and Patty told me that's how she usually made her yarn overs. I think Avie said the same. And so I did that, and I was like, wow, this looks a lot more mirrored. Like it doesn't look as big of a difference. And so once I learned that, I just didn't like how this was coming out. And so I'm gonna have to take the needles out and you know, reclaim all of my stitch markers and my progress keeper. I'm thinking, no, thank goodness, I guess there's so many patterns out there with mohair and fingering. I'm thinking though this has to be a Sari Nordlund pullover. I've been kind of thinking about the couture pullover, but you know, I have no, I'm in no rush to cast this yarn onto something different. So, you know, I still feel like that's a really good sweater for this kind of pattern or this kind of yarn. And I'm ready to cast it on. I will, you know, do that. Or if I decide that I want this yarn to be something different because it feels like something different, then I will do that too. But yeah, so we were saying goodbye to that being Fizz. So the next two projects that I'm going to show you are actually both in the Blue Rabbit House bags. So this is my little sock bag. And I feel like as knitters, whenever we go someplace, there's always two questions we must ask. One, can I knit? And two, what should I bring to knit on if the answer is yes? So I was gonna go to my sister's softball game. It's her last year playing. Of course, she ended up not playing the day I could go. So I unfortunately will not see her play her last season. Life has just been busy, but it is what it is. And I was thinking about it because, you know, like I want to watch her, but I also want to knit. And I didn't have anything in a spot where it was just like plain stockinette or garter besides my half and half triangles wrap. But, you know, it's July. And I was like, that's just too much to knit on outside right now. You know, in the apartment, when it's cool in the apartment, or if the AC is on, it's one thing. But so I was like, well, maybe I should just cast on some vanilla socks. And I kind of actually had a little bit of a, I kept going back and forth about it because again, I was like, oh, I just want to I want to work on things and just clear off my needles. But then the other part of me was like, well, vanilla socks are so easy to take with you anywhere though. Like this could just be for occasions like this. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then it's like, oh, do I just cast on a pair for myself and not have any deadline? Because most of my knits also have deadlines right now. I only really have one pair of socks on the needles that there's no deadline. And granted, like my Lightning Ridge socks, yeah, technically I've knit that first sock by the deadline that she asked, but I would like to have the completed pair before they get released on August 15th. So it's like little things like that, right? Like this, I have a few more months left, but there's a deadline. And yeah, so I didn't really have much that didn't have a deadline, but then I'm like, well, it'd be kind of silly though if there are two people that I've been wanting to knit socks for. One of them has a birthday in September. I don't know if I'll actually get to it. And then the other one is having a baby shower in September. And that's my one cousin. She's having a baby in November. And so I wanted to make her a pair of socks and then a pair of matching baby socks. And she doesn't know what the sex is yet. So I wanted to kind of choose something that was kind of neutral. Of course, I don't really have many neutral colorways, like sock colorways. So I chose a colorway that I think will be fine. My boyfriend was like, I don't know, that feels like more like girly. I was like, I think it's fine. And then my mom said she thought it was fine too because it's very bright and it's all the colors and it's a baby. So with that being said, this is Little House in the Big Woods by Homespun House. And the base is like kind of like a mint colorway. And it like literally has like all of the colors. But there are a lot of it's very bright, but it's not like super pastel. I feel like there's a lot of like primary colors and then colors that kind of lean to that more neon type of side. And yeah, this is a 75-25, so it's I think her super soft sock base or her soft sock base, and this is literally all I've done so far. I forgot who made the stitch marker. I think she's like Cherry Shop or something like that. I'll have it linked down below though. Yeah, I'm in no rush. I mean, technically there's a deadline to this. It's the end of September, but they're vanilla socks. Vanilla socks don't take me super long, and I'm making these a little bit shorter than how I usually do my vanilla socks too. So the cuff, I did 15 rounds, and then for the leg I think I'm going to do 50 instead of 60. And she has smaller feet than me. I think she's like a size 7. So I'm going to do a fish lip ski seal. So just giving me the least amount of work, but also just having something very portable and something that I don't really have to think about. So the second project that I want to talk about, you know, I cast this on yesterday, and again, I submitted my thesis yesterday, and I think because I kind of felt more of this relief, I don't know, like I felt good. I felt good about casting this on. I do feel good about casting it on. I've been seeing, you know, people are starting to knit more winter and fall garments. It's not that far away. And I have about 3 to 4 garments I would really like to knit this upcoming, well, actually, yeah, this upcoming like next 4 or 5 months. Yeah. 2 of them would be presents, 2 of them are for me. Maybe I'll even get a 3rd one, who knows. But I've been seeing all these beautiful just sweaters and being casted on lately, and I don't know, I wanted to cast something on too, and I was like, well, I have all these things planned, but it's like, but by the time they get done, it's gonna be maybe winter, so fall's already gonna pass. So I decided to cast something on. And you know, maybe I'll get it done in time for fall, maybe I won't. But I feel really good about it. And so I am knitting the, I believe it's called the Morchella cardigan by Whitney Hayward. I've actually been watching Maria from Woolen Forest, her old podcast. At the current moment, she's decided not to podcast anymore. Whether or not she'll change her mind in the future, we don't know. But, you know, I respect that. I totally understand. But it's funny because she kind of said that she was going to stop podcasting, and then I got this, you know, urge to watch all of her old videos. So I was watching a lot of her ones from last fall, and she casted this cardigan on in the Nightshades color. Her Nightshades that she had by Harrisville Designs. And so I had pretty much a sweater's quantity of daylights that I was going to use for a different sweater, but I was like, I love that cardigan. I've had it in my favorites, and you know what? I would really like to knit it. And so this is Daylights. This is in the caffeine colorway. So if you're not familiar with the Daylights or Nightshades, it's essentially the Nightshades is a black base. This is like a kind of a creamy off-white base, I would say. And there's just different like colors that is mixed in with it. So this is supposed to have, this is the caffeine colorway, so it's supposed to have flecks of brown. But it's so neutral that, I mean, you can kind of see it, but it's not, to me, as vibrant as the ones that have the blue and the red in there. Like those, I think, really show up more. I have one skein of Nightshades, and it has a blue, and I mean, it really pops out. This is a lot more subtle, but I really love it. And it's very nice and soft. It's DK weight, and I believe it is, okay, so it's 100% Cormo, well, it says American Cormo and wool. Yeah, so Cormo. Yeah, and I'll show you the tag there. Sorry if it's getting a little blown out, but yeah, so I technically made a swatch. So something that when I was watching Maria's old podcast, she said like, oh, like you knit 2 pockets for this cardigan, and your swatch could be the pocket if you knit it to the right, you know, like size, you know, that the pocket calls for. And so that's what I did. I got gauge on the recommended needles of US 7. Yeah, I have stitch count gauge. So it's 21 stitches per 4 inches. I just do an inch, it's like 5.5. And then I'm a little bit looser row gauge, so I don't know how that might affect the top because it's a bottom up sweater, but it's I forgot what this rib is called. But a lot of times, you know, many designers would just say knit X amount of inches. So hopefully, I haven't looked to see like the collar band or anything like that, if it's like that, or if she says knit X amount of rows. So I'll have to look at that a little bit more once I get there. But yeah, I think I'm really excited about this. And I did have like a little mistake, but it's really soft. And the best part, there's no purling. There is no purling in this. Super easy to memorize the stitch count. It's literally a 2-row repeat. And again, I forgot off the top of my head what the rib is called. I'll have it like down here right now. So I did that last night, and then once I made sure I was on gauge, cast it on. So I think I've done like 4 rows on this so far. Again, this isn't something that I'm like, I gotta get it done. I would love to have it for fall, but this is just here to just be here and work on it as I want to work on it. I did cast on twice because the first time I didn't cast on enough stitches, or I didn't have enough yarn to cast on the amount of stitches for my size. I'm knitting the size F, which is 53, so that will give me, what, 7 inches of positive ease, which is actually what the pattern calls for. I was going back and forth between wanting to knit the 50 bust or the 53. Then I was reading some comments saying that it was a little bit smaller than they originally thought it was going to turn out, even with gauge. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go up the size. It's going to be a super comfy cardigan. So I'm knitting that size. But the second time I cast it on, I mean, look how much tail I have. Like that's perfect. That's like the right amount of size, or right amount of length for a tail. So that is that. And I'm really excited about it. You know, this is what the projects that I'm frogging, that's what they weren't bringing me, is like this just joy. So that's it for my projects that I've been working on. I do have some stash acquisitions to show. I know last time there's about 3 like yarns that I got that didn't make the cut because the video just got messed up. One of them was the knitting for Olive. Another one was Nutidin. I got some more Nutidin, but I'm going to wait to show that the next time I podcast because I talk about it a lot. And I do plan on casting on a present for my aunt with that very soon when I come back from Colorado. But then I also received more yarn. Now, before I talk about my stash acquisitions, I just want to make a disclaimer that I show these because I like, well, first of all, I like seeing other people show like what they've received and what they bought and everything like that. I've, you know, in the past I've thought, oh, maybe I won't show it. And then people message me and they're like, oh, I love when you show your yarn acquisition. So I was like, I like showing it too. But in no way am I showing you to make anyone feel bad. No one has said anything to me. But But I just kind of wanted to put that out there. You know, we all have different budgets. Sometimes I shouldn't be buying yarn that I'm buying, but I buy it anyways. And I don't really spend my money much on anything else besides like saving for travel and stuff, and when I can. But yeah, I like showing different dyers. I like showing maybe how the yarn looks, because you know, yarns can look a little bit different when you show them on the screen versus like looking online to shop. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Actually, yeah, I'll show my yarn stash, and then there's actually this skein that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about books, so bear with me. But all the yarn that I want to talk about is in this little goodie basket. So the first yarn that I'll show will be from Stress Knit. So this is what I showed on the podcast last time that got cut. But for those of you who may not be aware, Stacy from Stress Knit, actually, she had an issue. There's a huge torrential downpour. There's an issue with like flooding and like sump pumps malfunctioning and sanitation facilities going down, I believe. So she's currently kind of put a pause on dyeing. You know, if they were doing a fundraiser for her, which has ended, but if you're still really interested in supporting her, I am a patron of hers and I absolutely love it. But prior to all of this, she was doing like cut flower collections. And so the first one I got was this ranunculus. And then her husband actually designed these stickers. And yeah, so I have a few ideas, a few designs that kind of stuck out to me that I might use these for. I don't think I'm going to cast them on anytime soon. These are very spring-like colors. This is something that I'll probably knit next spring. And then the second colorway I got was the sunflower minis. So originally, I was going to cast these on for my birthday. I'm still going to cast them on these this year. I'm probably going to cast them in the fall. I decided not to cast them on for my birthday because I had a different birthday cast on plan. But I think, I believe the pattern is called Rumpia Socks by Emma from Bloom and Create. But that's what I'm going to make with these. And yeah. These sunflowers are my all-time favorite flower. I absolutely love them. I'm so excited to knit this collection. Yeah, and I'm going to be knitting. There's about 2-3 pairs of socks that I really want to make this fall, and that's one of them. It's on the top of my list. So I think once I get all of the pattern socks off my needles, I have about 2 patterned knits on the needles, although something else that I need to make too that I'm thinking about that's kind of patterned. But yeah, I think once I get like my lightning ridge and my skipping stone socks off my needles, I'm gonna cast that one on. And then I bought, this is the last one that's wrapped up in plastic, but this is by Peach Queen Yarns. I'm not going to take it out because it's just going to be kind of a mess, but it's called Evolution. So self-striping yarn, it's very much into it. I wanted to show hers because she doesn't dye yarn very often. She does it more as like a hobby thing. But when she does, she has like Pokemon and Disney and video games, and so I'll definitely link her, or she's called Peach Queen Yarns. And I would definitely check her out. She has an Etsy shop, and whenever she does end up like dyeing a colorway that I've been eyeing, Like literally it might be like 2 years later, it's like, oh yeah, there's the color. Yeah, because she, you know, has a regular day job and all that. She just does it kind of on the side, but I just wanted to mention her. And then the next yarn that I got was a spontaneous buy. This is the Ants. This is a Practical Magic collection that just came out from Legacy Fiber Arts. I've never seen the movie, but I do want to read the book and see the movie this fall. And that's pretty much like the perfect fall color without being too Halloween-y. Yeah. I actually want to do a cal this October, a sock knitting cal. I already have the name, which I'll say later on. So I want to knit these during that time, but my plan is to do a cal from October 1st to 31st, cast on, cast off, but throughout like the whole month have like different prompts with like different fall activities or fall things, and like have you all like take photos with like, I don't know, like, are you more apple cider or pumpkin spice, and like take them like with your favorite treats, just things like that. I'm still thinking it through. I have like ideas, but I haven't really written anything down. And I'm sure I'll make like a whole separate video on its own, but yeah, so I have that. And then I am working on a test knit. That's a secret, and it calls for worsted weight yarn, and I might need a third skein, I'm not sure, but I got some Peace Fleece to try out. This is in the comic, I think it's Kachka? CMOS? I say Kamkachka CMOS, but maybe it's something different. And I think it's coming up a little bit more blue on screen. It's a very like blue-green. It reminds me, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of, actually when I saw it, I just thought of like Michigan, and I kind of liked that. So it's I've never felt Peace Fleece until now. I've never knit with it before. I really like the way it feels. It's a little bit, I don't know if it's the needle size that I'm knitting it on. It is a little bit kind of sticky on the metal needles where it doesn't like to slide as often. So I don't really want to loosen my gauge, but I've been trying to loosen it just a little bit so it's easier to kind of slide each stitch. But again, I am using a little bit of a smaller needle size than what they recommend for this test knit. So maybe, you know, maybe if I knit it bigger, it won't be like that, but I still love it. I'm really enjoying the experience of just like the feel of it. So I have one more stash acquisition, which is very special to me, and that is Explorer Knits. Now, I've talked about Allie's yarn numerous times. I've talked about how she was like the first yarn dyer that I ever followed, ever bought from. I've just seen her whole journey of even becoming a yarn dyer on Instagram, and she actually went to grad school, like where I go to grad school now, and she studied foxes, and I studied foxes, and yeah, so she did the Into the Wild collection, and I obviously had to get some. Not only did she release this collection, and I received the yarn recently, and you know, she released it at the end of April. I thought, man, how full circle kind of would it be, almost full circle. There's something that's a little bit more full circle in my opinion, but like how full circle would it be to like cast on something after I defend my thesis and, you know, should pass, but, you know, at least finish this journey. And so so I bought the yarn to do that. I was originally gonna cast on after I defended, but I'm actually gonna do this as my birthday cast on instead, just to limit the amount of things I do have on the needles. But this is her Untamed colorway, and it is a tonal to one that was called, I believe, The Wild Within, which was coyote inspired. And you know, for those of you who may not know, I study red foxes and coyotes in the Chicagoland area. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. This was kind of like a random buy that I had, but either probably put it in a shawl because I have another color that goes really well with this, or you know, maybe make socks. And then I got Gentle Natured. Which is my colors. And it was also inspired by a fox. Docile, which is the tonal pair to Gentle Natured. And then I got Purl, which was a tonal for a lion inspired colorway. I'm a Leo, so that works out. It's just beautiful. So I'm actually going to make the Old Mill Shawl by Hygge, Canyon, Kim with these 3 colors. And I'm really excited to cast that on. So that's in regards to yarn acquisitions, but I want to talk about something that's a little bit of dream knitting for me. So something that I've kind of realized about myself is that I kind of maybe actually have a really good time going through a process and then letting go. Not everything, but a lot of things in life. You know, I'm trying to like tell people this is my last week in Champaign, as I mentioned earlier. This is my last Amtrak ride down to Champaign. Living there, being there, just experiencing the campus, the school, and I'm really just trying to process it and take it and really enjoy it as much as possible. And I guess I try to do that with a lot of things that I know are coming to an end with school and jobs, because I'm one of those people where the job can be fine. I could have had a great experience at the school, but once I'm kind of done, I just kind of like to let it go. So my last job was at a restaurant. I really do want to go back and eat there because they have really great food. But I've only been there like maybe once since I quit 3 years ago. I used to work at my local eye doctor for 7 years, and I obviously need to go in for contacts and glasses, but I don't really like to. I just like to, like, it's, you know, I just wanted to let it go. Yeah, so I don't really visit the places that I once used to be at. And so, I mean, I would love to still visit Champaign if I could, but, you know, at the same time, for what? I mean, the school is it's a really big, like, college town, so unless you have, like, a really big event going down there or something, there's no point really in visiting. But, yeah, so I have a skein of yarn in my stash. And this was the second indie dyed yarn I ever bought. I bought it at the local yarn shop that I used to work at. The yarn shop is the only store, I guess, that I still want to go visit back. I love Brigida, and I really enjoyed working there, and it's yarn. So there's something to be said about that, though. That I do not want to let go. But yeah, so I bought this. It was my first trip there, because I saw when Allie, again, she was down there from Exploring Knits, I saw that she she dropped off yarn there, and I was doing it was the summer before like I officially started grad school. I was doing an internship down there, but I was starting my actual project. And yeah, so I've kind of like I've wanted to cast it on last summer and I didn't do it, and I realized I was looking at it that this would be the perfect time to cast on a pair of socks. Like my last week and 2 days down in Champaign, because that summer is really when I think I just felt like I really blossomed into this craft, and I have so many like amazing memories in regards to just knitting and watching podcasts and learning about different indie dyers. Like it truly is such a beautiful feeling for me to think about that summer. Like I don't even think about the research as much, more so than I think about the actual experience of being a knitter. I do think about the research, but yeah. So I don't remember the colorway off the top of my head. I think it's called like Sanctuary or Serenity. I know it starts with an S, and I'm 99.9% sure the tag is down in Champaign. But here it is. And I don't know, I'm just... It's amazing what yarn and knitting can do, and the emotions and feelings and just memories it can really bring. And so I'm just really feel like this is a very full circle skein of yarn if I cast this on right now and just my journey. As like a wildlife ecologist, but who knows what the next years of my life hold, right? I kind of, you know, talked about it numerous times before. I'm a bit burnt out, so I kind of wouldn't mind like taking a break. But you never know where life takes you, right? So I don't know. I'm just excited to cast this on. I was going to mention another YouTube channel today that wasn't a knitter, but I really would like to talk about that person. So I think what I'm going to do instead is just charge my battery for like a few minutes because it's flashing, and then talk about books. So if you are not interested in books, thank you so much. And if you're still around, just thank you so much for sticking around and chit-chatting with me. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a longer episode because it's been a while and I had a lot to share. But I just really appreciate it. I appreciate every single person that comes and checks out my video and leaves a comment. So thank you so much. And then for those of you who would like to talk about books, let's talk. So back in June, I was feeling, as you may have guessed, a little bit of overwhelmed, and I finished a book and then I started another one, and I guess end of June, beginning of July at some point, I realized I had a reading goal of 36 books this year, and I felt myself starting to slow down with reading this year. I haven't really been drawn to the audiobooks. I really just been wanting to actually have like the physical book in my hand reading, and that just takes me a little bit slower to do, and I don't always have time to sit down and read. That's why audiobooks are awesome, but you know, just go with the flow. So I decided to change. It's weird, it's funny. I decided to change my challenge. I have a Goodreads, and I always link that down below too, to my goal of reading 25 books, which was my goal last year. And so originally this year I was like, oh, I think I can do 3 books a month. And yeah, I just, like I said, I'm starting to feel myself slowing down. And it's weird, it's funny because the idea of ending the year, and like, let's say I end up reading 30 books this year, right? The idea of ending the year with like, you've read 30 books out of 36, out of your goal of 36, like, that bothers me. It's like I didn't reach my goal. But changing it halfway through the year and being like, oh, you read 30 books out of the 25 that you wanted to read. You beat your goal. Like that mentally is like, I did it. I don't know if anybody else out there is like that. But I guess it interesting shift how your mentality goes by just changing those kind of things. Like you still do the same amount, but you change that goal number and all of a sudden you feel either good or bad, right? So yeah, so I've done that. So I read 2 books, and then I started reading a third one, which I'll just talk about a little bit, but obviously once I finish it, I'll talk about it more. So the first book that I finished was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Now, I read her beach read book last summer, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Oh, sorry, my alarm is starting to go off. But yeah, so I thought it was really good, and I did enjoy this book a lot. I think I gave it like 4, maybe 5, maybe I did give it 5 stars actually, I did. So it follows, what is her name, Poppy and Alex. And so Poppy is this kind of like free spirit, kind of like just go with the flow, like I'm gonna do all this traveling, blah blah blah, whatever. And Alex is like the very like everything needs to be planned and a little bit more uptight about things. Although their vacations aren't really necessarily like planned out, they just go on vacations together. So they're kind of like these two opposite. It's a very, well actually, I guess before I go further with both of these books, I'm not going to give away like these huge spoilers, but there will be spoilers in here because there's no way I can talk about these books and not give things away. Sorry, it's not. So if you haven't read Normal People or People We Meet on Vacation and you don't want to get spoiled or know some spoilers, like I said, I'm not giving away the whole thing, but don't watch. But also I feel like for anybody who knows this genre, like you know what's gonna happen. So this is a friends to lovers trope. And yeah, so it's these two like opposites attract, but they're like best friends for like the past 12 years. And every summer, for the most part, they go on vacation together. I really enjoyed it. I love the traveling aspect of it. But the one thing that bothered me was that when they finally started to kind of get into their like relationship, it just kind of like happened, and it was very fast for me. Like, yeah, you get like all this like backstory about all these different vacations that they've been to and blah, blah, blah. But you don't get, there wasn't enough development in like the present day of the story, for my liking. Whereas Beach Read, I do enjoy that one a little bit more because there is a lot more like development with that relationship that takes place. I would still highly recommend, especially if you love this kind of genre. It was really fun. It's a perfect summer read. Next book I read. I'm trying to get a little bit more critical about my books too, because there's a lot of books that I give it 4 stars, but really it should be like 3 stars. This is one of those books. So this is Normal People by Sally Rooney, and I gave it 3 stars. My cousin, this is like her favorite book. I was so excited. I've heard nothing, even from other people. I've heard nothing but great things about Normal People. I know they made made a show out of it, which I do want to watch still. It's about these 2 people, Colin and I can't even remember her name, Marianne, Connell and Marianne, who have this like on and off relationship throughout, I don't know, 5-6 years or something like that. This book kind of started out strong for me. I was really interested and excited to see where this was going. It's not even that long. It's like 273 pages, but I think I read like the first 200 pages in like a week, and then the last 73 it took me 3.5-4 weeks to finish. There is just not a lot of character development, in my opinion, between these 2 characters. It's all like, it's just a lot of back and forth, a lot of on and off. Like, grow up, talk, like give in to the way you guys feel about each other. Don't, it's like they both know that they love each other, and then they like eventually say it, but yet like they won't. I don't. a lot of emotions. I just don't like how they keep just going back and forth. It's like they take 2 steps forward and like 5 steps back, like every single time. And it's like, seriously? Like, that's the whole story. And I feel like there was no real conclusion to it. And so I just didn't like their relationship. I thought it was stupid. I thought they needed to grow up and, or like fully move on from each other. Like, you either love each other enough to like fully give in, or just like don't even be friends anymore. Because clearly every single time you guys are friends, you become more friends. So sorry, but not sorry. Like it was just aggravating. I was just aggravated. I will say the other thing though is that her writing is very interesting. She doesn't use quotation marks, and at first it took me a little bit to get into it. But I actually enjoyed her writing, and I think she did a good job in regards to just like describing average, like everyday things. I liked it, but like the story plotline wise, not a fan. And then the third book, so I'm currently reading this one. I'm not even that far in it, but it is The Rural Diaries by Hilary Burton Morgan. I liked One Tree Hill. I wasn't like a crazy fan, and I like her husband. What's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I like Supernatural, and I used to watch The Walking Dead. Not all of the seasons, but yeah, I didn't even realize they were married until this book came into my life. So I saw Sandy by the Lakeside talk about this on one of her recent videos that she did, and it's essentially they ended up buying a farm out in Rhinebeck, New York. And again, I'm not that far along in it, but I've really been enjoying it so far. Like, I really do like her writing. And we haven't gotten to Rhinebeck yet, but I am really excited to continue to read this. And I just wanted to mention it before I finished it because it is in Rhinebeck. And if you are going, I'm not going this year, I'm hoping to go next year, but if you are going to Rhinebeck, this might be something fun to read, like, you know, maybe in the next couple months for you. So I probably will have this finished by the next time that we chit chat, so I'll let you know my full opinions on it. But yeah, so far, like I said, I really do like her writing, and it speaks to my inner I want to have my own homestead soul. Probably won't, because also I want to travel and I don't have to want to deal with like trying to figure out what to do with all the animals. But yeah, it's feeding that dream soul. So that is it. So yeah, so thank you guys so much again for just, you know, all your support and always, you know, hanging out with me for these videos. I should be back in a few weeks when I come back from Colorado, and I can talk to you all about that. But for now, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, week, rest of the month, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.